Mehrotra Kapoor, and over the next few minutes, we take you through all the health trends that defined 2025 and also which are the ones that will rule 2026. Let's start with 2025 first. It didn't begin in a gym or a clinic. It began in kitchens, office cafeterias, WhatsApp groups, late night Google and ChatGPT searches. Somewhere between a skipped meal and a restless night's sleep, Indians in 2025 started asking better health questions. Why does my weight behave differently now than it did like 5 years ago? Why does my stomach feel unsettled even when I'm eating normally? Why am I exhausted despite being medically fine? And perhaps the biggest question of all, how long can I realistically keep living like this? This year, 2025, health stopped being a checklist of annual tests and crash diets. It became a conversation. Ongoing, sometimes uncomfortable, often expensive, but increasingly informed. From blockbuster weight loss injections to fiber-packed plates, from gut bacteria to longevity goals, 2025 marked a shift in how Indians understand their bodies. So here are the health trends that defined the year and why many of them are likely to shape the whole decade ahead. Number one on our list, it has to be the arrival of GLP-1 therapy in India with a bang. Few health stories in 2025 generated as much buzz as the arrival of injectable weight loss drugs in India. What has dominated global headlines for years finally landed on Indian pharmacy shelves, and the demand that exploded. Mounjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic, already household names abroad, entered the country with enormous expectations. Originally developed to treat type 2 diabetes, these medicines work by mimicking gut hormones that regulate blood sugar, suppress appetite, and increase the feeling of fullness. Weight loss, once considered a side effect, quickly became the headline act. Within months of their rollout, sales number told a striking story. Despite monthly costs ranging from roughly 9,000 to 25,000, these drugs flew off the shelf. In October, in fact, Mounjaro clocked around 100 crore. Let me get that number again. In October, Mounjaro clocked around 100 crore in sales, overtaking even the long-established antibiotics to become India's top-selling drug, a position it retained even in November. Wegovy, initially slower off the blocks, responded aggressively. Its Denmark-based maker slashed prices by nearly 40% and launched Ozempic, a diabetes drug widely used off-label for weight loss, to capture the bigger slice of India's fast-growing metabolic health market. What followed was a full-blown pharmaceutical turf war. And the price is enormous. India is home to world's second largest diabetic population and the third largest number for people living with obesity. But beyond the sales, charts and brands battled. Something deeper was happening. For the first time, expensive long-term obesity treatment was being openly embraced, not dismissed as vanity or indulgence. Drugs costing tens of thousands of rupees a month don't just become blockbuster or bestseller unless mindsets have shifted. In 2025, more Indians began to accept obesity as a chronic medical condition, closely linked to diabetes, closely linked to heart attacks, joint problems, early mortality, rather than just a cosmetic failure, rather than just considering you a lazy fat person. Equally telling was that there was demand that came. It wasn't limited to metros or celebrity clinics. Tier 2, Tier 3 cities are also showing uptake, signaling the aspirations around health, appearance, and longevity now cut across geography. The message was clear. Health is no longer an afterthought, and investing in it, even heavily, feels justified. Number 2 on our list then, the inflammation conversation that went mainstream. If there was one scientific term that escaped research journals and entered everyday health talk in 2025, it was this. It was inflammation. Doctors and researchers have long warned that chronic low-grade inflammation underlines many modern diseases, from insulin resistance and heart disease to autoimmune conditions and certain cancers. And this year, that idea finally gained traction outside clinics. People began to understand the difference between acute inflammation and the body's healthy response to injury or infection, and chronic inflammation, which quietly damages tissues over time. Diet became central to this discussion. Several studies over recent years have shown that the Indian diet, while diverse, often leans heavily on refined cereals, with relatively low intake of protein, legumes, fruits, vegetables, and even healthy fats. In 2025, that realization sparked a reckoning. Nutrition conversation shifted away from calorie counting and good versus bad food towards patterns that reduce inflammation. The focus moved to largely plant-based diets built around unprocessed grains, lentils, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. Healthy fats from nuts and seeds gained ground, along with moderate consumption of fish and dairy as well. Red meat, refined grains, added sugar were pushed firmly into the occasional category. What made this shift actually stick was science. People became familiar with terms like flavonoids, anthocyanins, lycopene, plant compounds found in colorful fruits and vegetables, antioxidants such as vitamin C and E, fiber from whole grains, omega-3 fatty acids were no longer abstract concepts. They were seen as tools to calm inflammation and protect long-term health. The anti-inflammatory diet, once niche, also introduced by a celebrity, if you know what I'm saying, became aspirational and practical. Next on our list is gut health and the year of fiber maxing. Now, all health begins in the gut may sound like a wellness cliche, but in 2025, it gained scientific credibility and also cultural momentum. Research linking gut microbiome to immunity, metabolism, and even mental health reshaped how people think about digestion. Bloating and acidity were no longer brushed off as minor annoyances. They were treated as signals. The gut, often called the body's second brain, houses trillions of microorganisms that influence nearly every system in the body. When these microbes thrive, they support immunity. They regulate your blood sugar, they reduce inflammation, and even affect your mood. When they don't, that's when problems begin to ripple outwards. 5 years after the start of the COVID pandemic, people could connect the dots finally. In 2025, people understood that chronic stress, frequent antibiotic use, irregular sleep and steady rise, and ultra-processed food take a toll on your gut health. And in response came a surge of gut-friendly habits. Fiber-rich foods took center stage. Things like oats, banana, apples, flax seeds, lentils, and whole grains became daily staples for many. Polyphenol-rich foods like green tea, berries, even dark chocolate earned a sort of health halo. This trend came to be known as a very catchy phrase, I'm sure you know by now, called fiber maxing. The idea was simple: feed the good bacteria so they can do their job. Equally important was what people began to avoid. Refined sugar, packet snacks, highly processed foods were increasingly recognized as disruptors of gut balance. The short-term pleasure they offered no longer outweighed the long-term discomfort. Urban Indians dealing with bloating, constipation, insulin resistance, unexplained fatigue were often the first adopters. But the message spread quickly. A healthy gut isn't about digestion alone. It's about energy, immunity, and resilience. Which brings me to the next one. Longevity. Adding life to years, not just years to life. Longevity underwent a quiet rebrand in 2025. The conversation moved away from extreme life extension fantasies towards something more grounded, something we call health span. The number of years lived in good health. As they say, no, zindagi lambi nahi, badi honi chahiye. Similarly, not lifespan, but health span. Science has long shown that while genetics play a role in how long we live, lifestyle choices account for much larger share of how well we age. Estimates suggest that up to 70% of longevity is shaped by daily habits. This year, the statistic became empowering rather than intimidating. Instead of waiting for futuristic anti-aging breakthroughs, people focused on what they could control. Control things like calorie moderation, replace extreme dieting, simple, wholesome foods, sort of edged out complicated nutrition hacks, regular movements, not just intense workout, because, well, that's non-negotiable, right? Sleep, huge contributor, right? One sacrifice in the name of productivity reclaimed its importance. 7 to 8 hours a night was no longer sort of framed as indulgence, but essential. Equally significant was the attention paid to mental outlook, practices that sort of fostered gratitude, adaptability, optimism, gained recognition as longevity tools, not just emotional coping mechanisms. So, the takeaway of 2025 was refreshingly practical. Genes may set the stage, but lifestyle, that writes the script. The small, consistent choices matter more than dramatic overalls. The other thing that came up was food testing this year and the demand for accountability. While people became more intentional about what they choose to eat, another uncomfortable issue that dominated headlines, whether everyday foods were safe at all. Reports of adulteration in staples like paneer, khoya, eggs sparked widespread concern. Social media amplified these fears, often forcing regulators to respond. And one high-profile case involving a premium brand's high-protein egg, which was allegedly through private testing to contain an antibiotic in it, identified as potentially carcinogenic. That got a lot of attention. While authorities later dismissed the specific claim, the episode exposed a deeper anxiety, trust in the food system, which is very fragile in India. Public pressure led to increased sampling, inspections by Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, the FSSAI. In some cases, makers of adulterated products faced punitive action as well. In other, investigations were put into place. If not complete closure, at least a reassurance was given. What mattered most was the shift in power. Consumers were no longer passive. They asked questions, demanded transparency, and expected action. If 2025 marked a turning point, it was in recognizing that food safety is inseparable from public health, and the vigilance must be continuous. As the year draws to a close, one thing is clear: health in India is no longer about quick fixes or isolated trends. It's about systems within our bodies and beyond them. So that was 2025. But what about health trends to watch out for in 2026? Are you ready for that list? So here's what we've picked up on health trends that will dominate 2026, stuff that you should know about. Number one on our list, AI-powered personal health trackers. We've already had enough of them, but there are more coming, all right? What 2026 may have in store, let's tell you about that. That artificial intelligence could transform health and wellness is hardly breaking news anymore, right? We've already seen AI make its mark behind the scenes, helping doctors diagnose disease faster, assisting hospitals in managing patient data more efficiently, and even accelerating drug discovery at a fraction of the usual cost. But here's the trend to watch for in 26. AI is no longer content being just a silent helper in clinics and labs. It's stepping out into our everyday lives, becoming a true partner in how we monitor, manage, and optimize our personal health. Industry experts say that while AI will continue to strengthen diagnostics and treatments, its biggest impact may soon be in prevention. And that shift could redefine how we think about healthcare altogether. This coming year is expected to be a major one for health tracking wearables, home diagnostics, and mobile health apps. Many of us already use these devices, tracking our steps, our heart rates, or sleep. But what's coming next goes far beyond simply displaying numbers on the screen. Are you thinking about a particular one that's here? We'll tell you about that as well. The next generation of health trackers will be powered by AI that can analyze patterns, spot early warning signs, and offer tailored recommendation specific to your body, your habits, and your lifestyle. These devices will track sleep quality, your heart rhythm, breathing, blood sugar fluctuations, and even stress responses to real time. And instead of leaving users to interpret the data themselves, AI will now connect the dots. It could alert you to subtle changes before they turn into bigger problems. It might suggest when to rest, when to move more, or when it's time to consult a doctor. In short, it's like having a personalized health coach, right? On your wrist, sometimes on your finger, and if some people are to be believed, on your temples as well. With that, it's time for the next one, and you're gonna want to snuggle in to hear this one. We're calling it Sleeping Away to Glory and Well-Being. If there's one area where this AI-driven approach could make a massive difference, is actually sleep. India, quite frankly, is a sleep-deprived nation. For far too long, we've sort of taken pride in being hustlers when it's not really worth it, right? A major survey by an online community this year revealed that nearly 59% of Indian adults get less than recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. For many, actual sleep time drops below 6 hours. The reasons are familiar: late night work schedules, constant screen use, noise pollution, stress, even frequent sleep interruptions. That places India amongst the most sleep-deprived populations in the world. And that's worrying, because sleep isn't just about feeling rested. Adequate sleep is critical for cognitive performance, our ability to think clearly, stay alert, and make decisions. But it's just as essential for physical health, emotional balance, as it is for long-term well-being. The good news here is that awareness is growing on this. More and more Indians are beginning to connect the dots between poor sleep and issues like fatigue, anxiety, low productivity, mood changes. We're now able to tell कि भाई नींद नहीं पूरी हुई थी. Late night screen time and endless doom scrolling are increasingly becoming recognized as silent disruptors of both mental and physical health. Globally and in India, people are now exploring solutions to improve sleep quality. These range from simple lifestyle changes like sleep-promoting supplements like magnesium, as well as alternates like temperature-controlled bedding, light-based therapies. What's different now is that sleep is becoming measurable. With AI-powered trackers, sleep is no longer a vague concept. It's broken down into stages, consistency, recovery scores, and long-term trends. As research continues to link poor sleep quality to metabolic disorders, weakened immunity, also cardiovascular diseases, and even cognitive decline. Now, individuals and companies are beginning to treat sleep as a core pillar of health. There are laws now in countries. Now, sleep is not just something that happens when the day ends. In the coming years, sleeping well may be seen as an active health choice, not a passive nightly routine. Let's talk about the next trend that we think will dominate 2026, the reckoning with ultra-processed foods. Now, we all know that by now, right? And here's another major health shift, which is already underway, and it's happening on our plates. Ultra-processed foods are cheap, they are convenient, they are engineered to taste great. You want to reach out to that one little extra one all the time, and they are everywhere. Not surprisingly, India, like many countries, has seen a sharp rise in the consumption of ultra-processed foods, often referred to as UPFs. But this convenience comes at a huge cost. Growing evidence links high consumption of UPFs to an increase in non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, obesity, heart attack, certain cancers, even neurodegenerative conditions. A landmark assessment released last year found that nearly 20% of Indians now derive over 11% of their daily calories intake from these UPFs. These foods are designed to encourage overeating. Designed to encourage overeating. Listen to that again. Intense flavors, soft textures, rapid digestion can override the body's natural fullness signals, making it harder to stop at reasonable portions. At the same time, diets heavy in UPFs tend to push out, sort of whole and minimally processed foods as well. That leads to lower intake of fiber, essential vitamins, and even key minerals. On the surface, the picture looks very, very grim, but here's a reason for caution. And also, can I call it sort of cautious optimism over here? As scientific evidence mounts and consumers become more and more aware of what they're eating, demands for cleaner labels and more natural ingredients is growing. More Indians are beginning to question now, not just calorie counts, but food quality as well. In the years ahead, many are likely to realize that ultra-processed foods aren't just about excess calories, they are also about, how they stand in way of long-term health and long-term longevity. And with the help of AI-powered health insights, people may finally have the data and the motivation to make better choices. Because the future of health may not lie only in hospitals or laboratories, but in smarter, everyday decisions, guided by technology, awareness, and a growing focus and prevention. Remember these, internalize all that we've told you, listen to your body. Importantly, don't listen to the internet. Listen to your doctor and perhaps us. And we'll see you in the next year as well. Health, wealth, your platform to get you all things that keep you and your body first. Bye-bye for now.